In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Poggle the Lesser from the Saga collection. He's figure number 18, so he's released around the same time as like the Republic Commando Scorch, and I think there's also the C-3PO body with the Battle Droid head. Characters like that. So basically like an Attack of Clones themed wave at the time. And despite him just being a repack and a repaint, he's a very good repack and repaint, and I think he's one that a lot of collectors welcomed at the time. So he was originally released in the Geonosis War Room basically pack. It was a 3-pack, and then there's 2 sets of those. I'm pretty sure Poggle came with Count Dooku, and I'm trying to think who else it was. It may have been like Sand Hill or one of those. It was a pack that ended up going on deep clearance at one point, even down to like $2 or $3 at some points. It wasn't in very high demand, and I think Poggle is one of those ones that he's going to appeal more to like the niche collectors. I don't think, especially if you're a kid, he's not exactly the most appealing action figure in the world. I can tell you myself, at the time of the Saga collection, I was in no way interested in this guy. And I do recall seeing him in stores a lot, and it seemed like he was kind of warming the pegs. Not as bad as some of them, but he was definitely up there. And I just never got him at the time. I actually didn't get this until, I want to say 2000, maybe in 2020 actually. I was getting all the Separatist leaders all at once, and I found them for only like $10 of free shipping. So if you really want Poggle for your collection, pretty easy to get a hold of. So this particular release, the single release, is actually just a repaint of that one that came with the Geonosis War Room set. And I think the colors are a little bit more vibrant on this one compared to the other one, which looks really nice. I think it turned out really well, and it kind of signifies some of the wealth that Poggle had. And he kind of has a hard time holding his cane there. Have to work with it some. So one important question I want to address before we look at the figure a little closer. So why is Poggle the Lesser called Poggle the Lesser? I think that's a question that doesn't really get addressed very much, and people just call him Poggle the Lesser, and then nobody ever really questions as to exactly why that is. And I can't really find a concrete answer for that, actually, but I think I kind of have a little bit of a solution that might work. So just based upon my knowledge and what little bit of information I can find about him, so this is actually kind of a Roman tradition. So if you were a patrician in the Roman world, which was basically the Roman nobility, there were certain degrees of that nobility. Of course, you had your high nobility, and then of course you had your the equivalent of your middle class and the nobility, and you had your lesser nobility. And I think in this case, Poggle Lesser, based upon his hive, of course in this case it'd be high for the Geonosans, that basically signifies that he was kind of like a lesser nobility that just happened to rise through the ranks. Poggle does become the Archduke of Geonosis during this time, so the fact that someone of his status in the nobility world, that's quite an accomplishment, I would say, to become the Archduke of the entire planet from someone that's considered like lesser nobility. So that's about the best explanation I can give for Poggle here, and I think it's one that fits. So he just happens to have the name Poggle the Lesser because his people consider him a lesser nobility, but even despite that, he ends up rising through the ranks and becoming one of the top leaders of Geonosis and of the Separatist movement. And of course, we know how he ultimately ends in Revenge of the Sith at the hands of Darth Vader. So let's just go and take a closer look at this guy. So as far as Geonosans go, Poggle has a very unique look about him. Almost like he has a beard here. We do see him stroking it every now and then in Attack of Clones. Not so much Revenge of the Sith. He's just kind of a blink and you miss character in that movie. But he has some really nice sculpting work in this. And as I said, this is just a direct repaint of the character from 2003, just slightly more vibrant. Eyes are painted really good. His Skin texture looks pretty good. Very green, I suppose. A little bit different compared to the other Geonosians. A lot of them were more brownish, I suppose. There's his mouth there with a little bit of teeth in there as well. Here's his armor, or what I would assume is his armor, and you can tell he's definitely of a noble class based on his accessories that he has on him. He has those rings around his wrists there, and around his biceps. And he has this loincloth here, which has some nice red, vibrant colors in it. Kind of reminds you of something you see in ancient Egypt among the pharaohs. So there's definitely a lot of historical context with this character based upon his name and his outfit alone. Of course, his legs. That is one thing about the Geonosians is, at least for the action figures that Hasbro made, is their legs are bent at very weird angles, and oftentimes they don't stand very well. But fortunately, Poggle can accommodate a stand, and plus, you don't really need a stand. I've actually had no problems with this guy standing. Many of the other Geonosians I have had a lot of problems standing. In fact, I'll just bring this guy out right now from 2002. I've had a lot of problems with this guy standing, and as you can see, he can't accommodate a stand at all, so he's very difficult. And this one has a really weird stance. So, of course, like the rest of the Geonosians, he does have wings here, which are articulated, actually. They just swivel up and down. Some of them are actually on a ball hinge, like that one is. So you can't put them in a resting position, which looks pretty good. And either or, it doesn't really affect his balance in any way. So you can have him like he's trying to fly, or in a resting position, I suppose. And it's perfectly fine. In terms of his articulation, he's pretty basic, but he's got about all he really needs. He does have a swivel at the neck there, which has a pretty good range of motion, especially considering he has that the equivalent of a beard there. He does have swivel shoulders, nothing in the elbows or the wrists. Let's see here. Yeah, he does have a swivel at the waist, and then swivel hips, and that's it. So just swivels all around. And his left hand is in a fist here, so he can't hold anything there anyway. I think an interesting accessory for him to have came with was the Death Star hologram on the on his basically the comm link there. I think the Count Dooku in the War Room set basically has that. Yeah, he does. In terms of accessories, he just has his cane here, which is a pretty interesting design. Kind of looks like a bone, actually. I think he welded two bones together. And I think you can pretty much hold it either way. It looks kind of awkward if you hold it this way, so pretty much has to be like that. And he doesn't have any problem standing anyway, but even if he did, that cane does have enough stability with floor to keep him up, and he looks pretty good with that. Definitely see him side by side with Count Dooku, waving his fist at everyone in the Geonosis arena. Of course, he has his stand, which is based off Attack of Clones, and Poggle the Lesser. If that would focus. Doesn't want to focus. And he does stand on it pretty good. But like I said, I don't think you really need it. In fact, I don't think I've ever used the stand for him. So it's mostly just for looks, I suppose. pretty good like that, though. Of course, he does come with a hologram. I'm pretty sure he came with this hologram. So now we're taking a look at Darth Maul. Blue one in this case. Which looks pretty good. It actually took me many years to get Darth Maul. This was the first one I got. And that looks pretty good. This is double-bladed lightsaber. And interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure that's like the Empire symbol. I want to bring up the Stormtrooper here. I actually didn't show the symbol in the video I did for that. And they both have the same symbol there. So a little bit of an inaccuracy. But yeah, that's pretty much all he comes with. I will bring out one more guy here, and that's Sun Fac, who was also released in the Saga collection at the time. These are the 3 Geonosians I have in my collection. And they all look pretty good together. Let's see here. I wouldn't mind getting Geonosian army at some point. There's lots of other ones out there, and I used to own the Geonosis Arena back in 2002. It was one of the first playsets I ever got, actually, and unfortunately I don't have it anymore, but I would like to track it down and reacquire it again at some point, especially now that I pretty much have all the action figures that could possibly accommodate. So I would really like to own that in my collection again at some point. It'd be nice to have all 3 of these bugs basically displayed with it. So would I recommend Poggle for your collection? I would if you're a fan of Separatists and you want to complete the Separatist Council especially. It's a very nice action figure, and even if you're not a fan of Geonosians or the Separatists per se, he's still a really nice action figure, and I think he fits with just about any collection out there. If you have Count Dooku, he looks good side by side with them. If you have any Geonosians at all, of course you have to have their leader at the time. So yeah, nice action figure overall, highly recommended. And he's fairly affordable on eBay. I don't think I've ever seen this go for an outrageous price. So you could probably find them for like $10 in free shipping even on eBay if you really want them. Between this one and the original and the Geonosis War Room set, that one's still a pretty cheap set online as well, and you get 3 action figures with that. You might be able to find it for like $30 or $40 even. So not too bad for a set that's not in production anymore and has 3 action figures that are decent. But I think this particular Poggle is much more vibrant in color. So nice action figure overall. Glad I own it. That much closer to completing the Separatist Council. Just missing a few more at this point, but I do hope to track them down at some point. Nice figure overall. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more in the future. Always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.